What is up, Ravens Flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. Chance and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host James Haskell. In this episode, we're going to talk about the 2021 schedule for the Baltimore Ravens being released. We're going to go ins and outs of the whole schedule. We're going to talk about tough stretches, easier stretches, and then finally, we're going to go over a complete win-loss prediction way too early, but that's okay. Things change, but we're going to break down each game, where we're winning, where we're losing, and we're going to get into it. But before we do, give us a like, give us a subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll keep you up to date on all your Ravens news. So, Jimmy, where are we starting with the 2021 Ravens schedule?
Yeah, so I think obviously by now you guys all have seen the names, but I think we should start by just highlighting a few sections where, and a few facts about the schedule. So number one, if I'm not mistaken here, the only team based on win percentage with a tougher schedule this year in the AFC would be our opponents up the road and to the east, being the Pittsburgh Steelers. So based on win
east,
percentage,
I thought they were to.
No, they're north. Oh, my bad. You're right. Northwest.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Oh boy. Sorry. Northwest. Oh gosh.
Hold on. Who's the one that's traveled and who hasn't? Because
you know what? I'm never going to Pittsburgh. I don't want to be caught dead in Pittsburgh. Shoot, I don't even know where that place is. I just think of how to get in the airport and out. Forget that place. That's right. So anyway, yeah, to the northwestern part of Pennsylvania and northwest of us, of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the only ones with a more difficult schedule than us based on win percentage last year. So that is definitely the first thing that came to my mind as far as this schedule goes. And, so that's one thing I wanted to highlight. Glenn, something else that you brought up was, we have a pretty odd stretch where there's a long period of time where you're at home. Why don't you break down that for a second? Because I also think that's something interesting worth mentioning. Yeah,
absolutely. So early on the season, weeks 5 through 9, all home games, and the bye week is in week 8. So not only do you have really the ideal time for a bye week, right in the middle of the season, cutting the season in half, give you a chance to rehab from any, nagging injuries that might be not keeping guys out of the game, but they're bothering them and hindering them in some way. So I like seeing the bye week, but then they play, week 5, they're at home against the Colts. Week 6, they're at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. Week 7 at home against the Cincinnati Bengals, the week 8 bye, and then week 9 at home against the Minnesota Vikings. So it's always odd. I mean, the first thing I look for is sets of 3. Do we have 3 straight home games? Do we have 3 straight road games? Well, man, that blew it out of the park because you're talking about 4 straight home games and really 5 straight games sleeping in their own beds at their own home. So I'm sure, during that stretch, they're going to be loving life. But as we know, if you're going to play 5 straight at home, 5 weeks straight at home, then you're going to have to go on the road and pay for it later on. And they certainly do so later on in the season. So that's a pretty cool stretch though, Jimbo. That's a stretch they could use to look to get a little separation and in preparation for maybe coming up short in some of them road games.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, and then, coming out of the tail end of that is, they're going to Miami, which is like Baltimore's second home, right? Like with all the guys we got from Florida. And then I feel like every time we play the Dolphins, it is Ravens flock
Raven
up
Nation.
in there.
Yep.
At the very least, Lamar's going to get to sleep at home.
That's right.
Game,
That's right.
So, and I'm sure a lot of other guys, Hollywood and a few other guys. But that being said, just like you mentioned, the schedule is pretty backloaded. If you look at it from, week 10 on, of course, the Dolphins definitely are, looking to take a step forward. They were contenders last year. And then you got this is a stretch. You got the Browns, the Steelers, and then the Browns again in week 12, 13, and 14. Those games with the Browns are going to be dogfights, no pun intended. And then of course, every time we play the Steelers, and then coming out of that, you talk about groups of 3. Coming out of that, you go right into the Packers game, where if Aaron Rodgers is still their quarterback, look out.
Yeah. No
right?
doubt. No doubt. Absolutely.
So, I mean, and I don't know how much reprieve you get at the end with, we're used to Bengals being a gimme. I don't think they're a gimme anymore. Well, I think they're going to surprise some people this year. So certainly the back end of that schedule, and then of course the Chargers and the Steelers finish it out. But not an easy schedule.
The Rams and the Steelers.
Oh, sorry, my bad. The Rams and the Steelers.
The other LA team, yes.
Yeah, the other LA team. But I mean, it's an interesting schedule. It's a really unique schedule. But I do think within that, there are some things that can favor the Ravens. And if you'll bear with me here, I know we're going to highlight a couple games. So we'll do that. And then I want to talk about when we go through our way too early prediction, what I think the advantage is to the Ravens. So why don't you highlight a couple games that jumped out at you, Glenn?
Well, first thing I want to do is point out the national televised games, because I think this is really, really cool. The fact that they start the year at the Vegas Raiders, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're opening a brand new state-of-the-art facility there and stadium there, and they got some really cool
with
additions.
Fans. Last year they opened it, but they had no
with fans, and now they have those on the field box sections, which is crazy. I mean, some of the pictures of those sections, man, I don't know how much they're going to be, but the fact that they're field level is something we've never seen at any NFL field. So the fact that you have an on the field behind the end zone right there, you got your own box with a bunch of amenities. You have a private bar. You have your own, restroom. I mean, that's cool, but that cannot be a cheap ticket, Jimbo.
Nothing is cheap in Vegas already. No. Like, it's insane.
And I mean, you imagine
a bag of almonds there for a work conference for $17, Glenn. I'm not kidding. The only reason I bought it was my job's money. You know me. I wouldn't have been caught dead.
Never.
With a $17 bag of almonds.
Never. You'd be finding the hot dog cart down on the strip that gets you a $1.25 hot dog. But no, here, the thing that's cool is they not only start, so it's Monday Night Football game to open the year, which is cool. 8:15 start in Vegas. And then they follow that with the Chiefs at home Sunday night. So you're talking right out the gate, back-to-back national games, playing under the bright lights with all the football fans are watching. And I think what that does is that tells me that the NFL wants to continue to highlight the Ravens and really continue to highlight Lamar Jackson. I mean, want to put him on there because you'd be hard pressed to find another player in the league that if a football fan isn't a fan necessarily of the Ravens, but they want to watch entertaining football. I don't think you're going to find another player that draws those other teams' fans in more than Lamar Jackson. He's so electrifying. So, this just proves it to me by the NFL agreeing with me and doubling down. And first 2 weeks, boom, boom, national. Then in week 5, they also have a Monday night game against the Colts, and that one's also at home. So, the issue was, Monday night. So I remember the issue in Baltimore was, we like that we have national, but can we get some of these at home? Well, boom, we got a Sunday night game against the Chiefs at home. We got a Monday night game against the Colts at home. Then we have a Dolphins game on Thursday night at Miami. And then our final game, Sunday night at home against the Browns. So I think fans will be happy to know that we have 5 primetime games, and 3 of those are going to be in the safe confines of M&T Bank Stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because actually what I'm going to do is, before we get into the games that kind of stood out to us, is number one, I totally agree with you. I mean, what bigger draw at this point is there than Lamar Jackson? I've said this for 2 years now, and I totally believe it. And even more so this year with the resurgence of Steph Curry. Lamar Jackson is the Steph Curry of the NFL. And I think all we're seeing is guys trying to copy what he does. Who's the kid in Arizona? Kyler Murray is like Trae Young. I mean, it's just, he's going to end up getting tattoos that look like Lamar. It's just like, have you seen Trae literally has the same tattoos as Steph Curry?
Does he really?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. He does the same chest point up in the air thing. I mean, it's insane. So anyway, we're going to see the carbon copies happen of Lamar Jackson and things like that. But he is one of one. So you're absolutely right. The NFL realizes that. And we're excited to be along for the ride, because we haven't always had the most exciting quarterback, both in play and in personality. All right, we love you, Joe Flacco, for the Super Bowl, and he's steady Eddie. I think that's what made him great, but not the most entertaining, right? But one thing I do want to say, while it's a tough schedule, I think a lot of these big games, not just the nationally televised games, which most of them are high leverage games, a lot of these big games, the nice part is that we're at home. Now, of course, with Pittsburgh and with the Browns, we'll have a home game, but because we play them twice, they're in division, we'll have an away game. But like you said, the Chiefs game is at home, but a couple others I want to point out as well. Both LA teams are at home. So we play the Rams, and the Chargers at M&T Bank. So they got to come here. We don't got to go to LA either times, which I'm sure the players, as much as they don't like travel, they don't mind going to LA. But for performance purposes, we're glad about that. Also, the Colts game at home, the Packers game at home. So I think all of those being home games is a big deal in the win-loss column for us as a team. So I realize it's a tough schedule, but I think that those things are worth pointing out. Now, I want to keep going really quickly here, Glenn, and just point to two games, and then I'll let you do the same here. Two games that popped out as me that I think will be really, really important games for us. And that's week 5 and 6. I just mentioned them. That's the Colts and the Chargers games. Obviously, the Colts made the playoffs last year just like us, and the Chargers are surging. A lot of people have them making a big jump this year, competing with the Chiefs. They're booing up the offensive line, and they got that gunslinger in Herbert who just won Offensive Rookie of the Year. So week 5 and 6 are really interesting games. One's a Monday night game, and then one's a 1 o'clock game. But I mean, I feel really good about them. What are your thoughts on those two games? Because I think they're going to be with the Colts and the Titans in that division, they could be vying for a wild card spot with us and the Browns and the Steelers. You never know how that's going to turn out. And then with the Chargers and the Chiefs, you got to be nervous about those teams. We're all kind of in the same place where we could be fighting for a wild card spot, but be very good teams, right?
Absolutely. And I think that it could come down to some tiebreakers, and one of the big ones is head-to-head matchups.
Yep.
And so these games are going to be crucial, and really any AFC game when you're talking about wild card tiebreakers is huge. And the Colts, I mean, look, the Colts were a tough game last year with old Phillip Rivers. If they get Carson Wentz back on track, I think a lot of football fans will remember the recent Carson Wentz troubles that he's had that I think were more mental than anything. But let's not forget that if he's gets back to playing the way he was before the injury that kept him out of the Super Bowl run, this guy was in the MVP driver's seat before that injury. So if they get him going back good, we already know about that offensive line and how devastating that can be. They got a stud at running back in Taylor, and they got a crowded backfield with Naheem Hines and Marlon Mack. And I mean, they got a ton of guys, and then they got some really good weapons on the outside. And then they have that defense that is just emerging, led by Leonard in the middle, who is just a terror at linebacker. So that game is going to be really, really, really tough and important. And then, of course, you mentioned the Chargers. I mean, it's hard to not like, when you're not playing against them, what Justin Herbert brings. I mean, this guy, like you mentioned, a gunslinger, not afraid to whip the ball down the field, make big plays. And if they can protect him, which it looks like, the investments they made on the offensive line, they'll be able to do so.
Yep.
Man, they're going to be really, really tough if they can stay healthy on defense with Derwin James and with Bosa. Man, they could be a really, really tough team. So I like you, Jimmy, and am excited those games are at home, and hope that gives the Ravens the edge in both of those games, because I think they're going to be key. Now, as far as the games I'm looking at, Jimbo, I couldn't go any past week 2, Jimbo. The Kansas City Chiefs. The Ravens need to get the monkey off their back for anything, just psychologically. I mean, if they turn in another poor performance and get trounced by the Chiefs, I mean, at some point, it's got to have a psychological effect. And there's just no doubt to me that they're going to have to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs if they want to get to where they want to go. So getting a win, while doesn't erase, the past postseason, it doesn't erase all of it. But man, from a psychological standpoint, knowing you beat those guys, even if you do have to turn around and go to Arrowhead for the playoff matchup, just knowing that you've done it, knowing that you've beat them, I think does something psychologically.
Seeing is believing, right?
Absolutely. And the fact that narrative that can be put to rest, because if they don't get it done that in week 2, then that's all you're going to be hearing is, can Lamar Jackson beat Pat Mahomes? Can John Harbaugh beat his mentor Andy Reid? Because he struggled against him even before Pat Mahomes. If you look back at the history between them two since he took over in Baltimore. So man, that Chiefs game is huge. And then also the return of Big Zeus, the return of Big O on the left side after he kind of kicked and screamed his way out of Baltimore and forced himself into a Chiefs uniform.
I love that you've taken that position. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. So we're gonna see what you got. You're gonna be introduced to Mr. Adafe Owe, who we got in return, the big piece that we got in return. So we're gonna see how that works out. But yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully playoff Sammy at that point is still running down the sidelines. I like that it's week 2, Jimmy, because
he's still going to be available most likely.
Hopefully he'll still be available. Hopefully Tavon Young will still be available. There's a couple guys on our roster that I think can at least make it to week 2. Yep. I'm hopeful for, fingers crossed, and because I think those would be big additions to that, especially Tavon Young. You talk about putting him in the secondary against that talented passing offense.
Yep.
I want to see what that helps, how much that helps bring a little control to that passing attack. So Jimmy, what are your thoughts on that week 2 Chiefs matchup?
Yeah, so I'm gonna yield my time because I'm gonna give my thoughts when we do our week by week. But
okay,
I want you to give your
my second one.
Yeah, give us your second one because I don't want to reveal what I'm thinking about the Chiefs yet. I want to make you wait, build the suspense.
Okay, well, my second one, I'm going to point to the final matchup against the Cleveland Browns, and I think I'm throwing a little sidearm at you here, Jimbo, because I was talking about the Steelers pre-show, but to me, when I look at the weeks 12, 13, 14, first of all, we're not really playing one of the competitors in the North until week 12, Jimbo. The Browns.
Crazy, right?
We're not playing the Browns or Steelers till week 12, and then it's a bunch of times. And even the Bengals, the first time we play a divisional opponent is week 7. That's just not how it's been here in Baltimore. And let's be honest, while we expect improvements from the Bengals, we don't think they're competing for the North just yet. So I look at 12 versus at home against the Browns, week 13 at Pittsburgh Steelers, and then week 14 at the Cleveland Browns. So I'm looking at week 14 at the Browns. You're talking about second of a back-to-back road game. And this game, Jimmy, could determine who wins the division. I mean, I think the Steelers are going to be more competitive than some are giving them credit for. I think they end up piecing together an offensive line that's good enough, to keep them relevant. And I think Mike Tomlin, it's hard to ever point that team out when you see him go, 8-8 with Duck Hodges at the helm. I'm confident that they'll be in the conversation. But Jimbo, when I look at that Browns team, not a lot of weaknesses. When you just look at them on paper, they don't have any holes, Jimbo. And you're talking about they got the coach of the year, the executive of the year, and they had a home run draft. So that week 14 game against the Browns, I think has a huge, and it's on the road in the dog pound. They're going to be loud. They don't like the Ravens. So that's going to be a pivotal game. And I'm hopeful that the Ravens can pull it out. Yeah.
I'm with you, but I mean, like I have one big gaping hole. We always know what it is. Number 6, they're old under center, but for another day, I'm just not a believer, but I'm with you. I mean, but they have to be perfect around him, in my opinion, if they want to compete, because I don't think he's in the business of making people better. That's just what it is. So, I mean, he's better than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
But not much better.
You talk about putting a good team around him. I don't think you can find a better roster.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, shout out to the GM because he's done a perfect job. And this is the thing. He knows who he's got under center just like I do. All right. So anyway, let's get to the I agree with you though. I cannot wait to see the Browns games. I mean, the last time we saw the Browns, let's see, are both of these games? Yeah, so it's a Sunday night. Yeah, so the last time we saw the Browns in primetime, we know what happened. Lamar had to take a doo-doo, and then he came out and
Would you quit with the doo-doo rumors? It was leg cramping, Jimbo.
I know. I'm giving him a hard look. Lamar and us are close now. We can goof off.
We love talking Ravens talk.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
So, I mean, it is what it is. But no, absolutely. So let's get right to the week by week.
Yes.
I'm interested to see who has the Ravens taking an L first. So let's rap about it, Glenn. Of course, like you said, week 1, we're going to the Raiders. I'm taking a W. You?
Yeah, it'd be hard for me to see the Ravens have a week 1 opponent that I don't feel good about because I have such trust in the coaching staff and the young guys getting those young guys ready to play and contribute early. So Sorry, Raider Nation. It's going to be a long, long night for you. But, hey, at least you have your shiny, new, beautiful stadium that you can all enjoy finally.
Yeah, you can take an L in your new stadium. That's great. But the dismantling of the Raiders is second to none by Mayock and Chucky. Good for you. I mean, they're in the business of stealing, man. I've never seen anything like it. My goodness.
Hey, I don't think they're that bad. Now, look, remember, they beat the Chiefs last year. Not many people can say that.
That's true, but what they've done this offseason in dismantling their team doesn't look good. But you know what? To each his own.
That's right. I hope they do even worse until September 13th. Yes.
Now week 2, of course, against the Chiefs. You talked about. I wanted to yield my time and give my thoughts here. I think there's going to be so much wind in the Ravens' back going into this game. Number one, we get a redo of last year because there's fans in the stands for this game. And then, like you said, this is our 4th year in a row playing these guys. I think we take them down. I think we take them down hard. Big O coming back. I think he gets a decent amount of boos. And I think the Ravens as a team have a little bit of chip on their shoulder about the situation. I think that half of them understand, but I think half of them are in your camp.
And see, off of it.
And see that he gets to go play with the Chiefs and thinks that, he probably thinks deep down that his situation got better because he whined. Right. And so the Ravens like, all right, we'll see whose situation is better. Right. We're gonna give it to you. So I think that the Ravens take down the Chiefs. I'm gonna go out there even further. So 2-0, but I don't want to spend too much time here, but I say a 7-point win.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think you can predict a blowout there because that offense is so explosive. But I agree with you. First of all, it's the home opener. Second of all, how long has it been since we've had fans in the stadium? It's been a long, long time, Jimbo. They're going to be loud. They're going to be inebriated. Yep. They're going to be crazy. And 410 Sports Talk is looking to be in the building that day. That's right. That's right. So if the fans around us aren't loud enough, we'll make sure they get a little noisier, and we'll be pumping the crowd up. So we're going to be in the building, and we're going to see to it about this whipping that's going to be coming down on the Chiefs, because let me tell you, you don't think that the coaching staff was embarrassed last year? I mean, they got out coached. I mean, it seemed like everything the Ravens drew up, the Chiefs had the exact play call to answer, the play called by the Ravens. I mean, every time we blitzed off this side, boom, they dump it right over the head, a quick little dump down right over the head of the blitzer, and then they, turn out yak yards like crazy. I mean, it just seemed like anything the Ravens did, the Chiefs matched it. Well, they're going to be thinking about this game all off season. I mean, this is a game that Wink and Greg Roman and John Harbaugh have been thinking about for a long time. So I don't think there's any way that we don't have the best possible game plan. And yeah, the players have been waiting for this. They want to get this out of the business. So yeah, 2-0, Jimbo. I don't know how close it's going to be. I think it's going to be a dogfight. Could come down to a Justin Tucker field goal. But I think the Ravens get the dub.
Yeah, all right, we'll keep going. I agree with you. So 2-0, both of us. Not too much explanation here. We're going to play against the Lions, and I think we just take care of business. We're that type of team. So for me, we're 3-0. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. 3-0. I think that Jared Goff is going to be in for a long afternoon because I saw Penei Sewell is set to miss out on camp. Yep. He just tested for COVID, I believe. So if they don't get that guy up and running and ready, then it's going to be a long afternoon for Jared Goff.
Yep, absolutely. So, all right, next one is week 4 at Denver. I don't think they know. I mean, the only way that I see them winning this game is if they end up with Aaron Rodgers. If they don't, I think once again, we go in there, take care of business. I know they got a good defense. I know they got a formidable run game, but just too much of a question mark under center. I know they got wide receivers too, but I think we go in there and we just overmatch them. I think we get it done as well. What about you?
Yeah, I think no matter who's under center, if it's Drew Lock, he's a backup to me. If it's Teddy Bridgewater, he's a really good backup, or he's a bottom of the barrel starter who's a game manager. And it really comes down to quarterback play in this league, unless you have an overwhelming, other facet to your game, like an explosive run attack. And while they have an okay run attack, it's certainly not overwhelming or
they lost Lindsey. That was I didn't understand that move, but okay.
So I'm not a big believer in them. So I think 4 straight wins coming out the gate.
Ooh, 4-0. All right, so this is where it gets a little interesting. So we got the Colts on Monday night at home for week 5. Glenn, where are you going?
Yeah, this is a toughie because like we mentioned earlier, the Colts have got a good team. But I'll say this: it's at home after back-to-back road games. I'm obviously a confident Ravens fan, and we beat them on the road last year. Now I think they've upgraded at quarterback in theory, but we also know that this guy's a head case a little bit. You know, he's a guy that lost some confidence, and if they can't seal up that left side, that left tackle position, which I know they recently just brought in a guy I think didn't they bring in the old Chiefs tackle? I believe
Schwartz, right?
I think they brought in Fisher. I think they brought in Fisher,
yes.
the left tackle.
Yep.
And he might be ready by week 5 because I know he had a late injury, but you know, I still am not ready to sell it, you know, buy into the Colts coming into M&T and beating the Ravens. So I got to go with a win. Yeah, 5-0.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought, I'm going 5-0 as well. Man, I'm still waiting to see who takes the L first. All right, so we got the Ravens going 5-0 into week 6, a 1:00 game at home against the Chargers. And I'm gonna lead this one off here. I think we take this one and go 6-0. Justin Herbert is extremely, extremely talented, but Wink does really well against young quarterbacks. And while we didn't have the chance to play him last year, this is going to be his first time going up against a Wink Martindale defense. And I think usually for young guys, I'm sure statistically speaking, the first time a young player goes up against Wink Martindale, it usually doesn't bode well for them. Aside from what I will consider to be, I think our offense is going to be overwhelming, even if it just is in the run game. I think that he'll make a couple mistakes. Wink will do a couple things to make him, provide us with a turnover or two. And so I think we take this game as well.
Yeah, I hate to be too much of a homer, but I just don't see the Chargers coming in and beating us. I mean, I know I love Justin Herbert. I think he's a fantastic talent and one of the better young guys in the league. But, I think at this point, I think in week 6, Bosa, there's a good chance he's going to be dealing with an injury. I love Derwin James, but let's be honest, he gets hurt every year. And by week 6, there's no reason for me to predict anything other than that. So I think that it's a long travel for them. It's just a tough matchup for them coming all the way from the West Coast.
Yeah, it's a 1:00 Eastern, so it's going to be at 10 a.m.
That's tough. That's tough. So I think because if this was in L.A., I might have a different outcome here, but I think I go with a win because of where it's at.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we'll go to the next one. The next one is a division rival, of course. We're going to be at home against the Bengals. This is in that stretch that Glenn talked about. And I mean, quite simple. Joe Burrow is coming off a severe knee injury. It's still the first half of the year. I don't think that you can expect Joe Burrow to be anything close to, 100% the majority of this coming season, because he got hurt late in the year last year. So I think we get the dub. We take care of business. I don't see us wavering here. I think we're going to be one heck of a football team just in general. So, I think we get the W here and go 7-0. What about you?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think Burrow makes a little bit of a leap here. But the biggest thing is, can they keep this guy upright? I don't know if they've done enough to address the offensive line. And I think the defense, I know they brought over Hendrickson from New Orleans. And they've done a little bit to try and help out that defense, but I don't think it's enough. I think they catch an L.
Yeah. Good luck. All right. So then we got the bye going into week 8. So week 9, at this point, we're 7-0. So we got the Vikings at home, 1:00. Glenn, where are you going?
Well, coming off a bye week, it's really hard to beat the Ravens. And if you're talking about coming off a bye week and you're at home and you're talking Minnesota's got to come all the way over, I just don't see how they do it. I think Kirk Cousins is an okay quarterback, and he's got really, really good weapons with Thielen and Jefferson. But I just don't think it's enough. And I think they need to be able to run the ball effectively in order to get wins. And I think that Dalvin Cook's going to have a long, long afternoon because the Ravens know that. And the Ravens shut down the run when they want to, just look at the playoffs better than anybody.
Yep. Agreed. 100%. I'm just not a believer in what the Vikings are. They're
I love Dalvin though, man.
Yeah, but they're kind of a tweener team, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like they're contending, but they're contending for a playoff spot. I don't know if they're in contention for a Super Bowl.
And why is that? Because of what guy?
Oh, Kirk Cousins is certainly a big part of that. Yeah.
And by the way, how happy, I don't know if you saw this, but if you haven't checked it out, please do. RG3 was, I think, working with Bleacher Report during the draft process. And when they drafted a quarterback, he had the biggest smile on his face. And he was like, I know who's not happy. Kirk Cousins is not happy at all. So I imagine there's some bad blood between those two, but he was smiling with such a genuine look. Like he couldn't have been happier that they drafted a quarterback in Minnesota.
Yeah. I wonder by the end of their career not football, but in general, between endorsements and football, who will have made more money. Because Kirk's made a ton of money,
That contract was stupid.
But RG3's made a ton of money in endorsements.
He had that Subway contract.
Adidas too.
Yeah, man.
Shoo. So yeah, no, certainly. So at this point, we got the Ravens 8-0, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first.
Does that shock? It doesn't shock me. We're a good team.
No, you're right. We're absolutely a good team. 8-0 just sounds in my mind like, whew.
Like, I mean, look, I could see a slip up in week 5 or 6, but other than that,
yeah. No, I'm with you.
Oh, but the Chiefs. Yeah.
That could happen week 2. You know, we could be 1-1 after. So the next one is week 10 against the Dolphins on a Thursday night in Miami. I'm sure Lamar and the family will be there showing out. I think this might be, Glenn, our first blowout.
Oh, you think domination?
Yeah, I think we beat the pants off Miami. Maybe it's just because that's what I'm accustomed to seeing when we go down there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think we beat them pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict anything other than that. When you, like you mentioned, the previous few times you're down there, it's been hammer time, and you know, I'm not so sure I really buy into Tua yet. I mean, I like the fact that they, you know, provided him with some weapons. I think they got Waddle, right? They brought Waddle in, and then they brought in some help, on the defensive side as well as the offensive line. I think they did some nice things there, but I'm not buying into Tua just yet. So for that reason, I take the Ravens as well.
Yeah. Now the next one's going to be fun because I'm a Justin Fields guy, and we don't always play the Bears. You know, I think we play them every 4 years or so.
Yeah.
So we're going to be in Chicago. That'll be a fun game at 1:00 against the Bears. At this point, we're 9-0. Mm-hmm. First of all, will Justin Fields be starting even though they're paying Andy Dalton $10 million?
$10 million is not starter money, and I think yes, Justin Fields will not only start here, but here's our first loss, Jimbo.
No way!
It's our first loss, and let me explain why. First of all,
because we got to lose to someone.
Well, you got to lose to someone. I see them overlooking the Bears in preparation for the Browns game coming up the very next week. I think that the Bears have a really good roster. They just haven't been able to find the quarterback. Well, we both are high on Justin Fields. It's hard to find stuff you don't like about him. I still don't know what teams didn't like. You want to tell me epilepsy? It doesn't affect the guy. So he showed me toughness. He showed me leadership. He showed me big play in big moments. And I think that he does just enough in that offense to get a surprise win. I think the Ravens are going to that game favored. But look, it's not necessarily that crazy to say that they're going to lose a game on the road in Chicago. And I do think they overlook them a bit peeking into that Browns game.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, we're not losing to the Browns. I mean, the Browns. Jeez, we're not losing to the Bears.
Okay. All right. I hope you're right.
No, I agree with you 100%, but I've said it before, and I'll stick to this, that even the best first-year quarterback that you can think of, I think Wink's defense is very complex. Mm-hmm. He's going to come in there and lay the wood. And, make things confusing for him. And I know that's kind of my go-to for young guys, but that's just the facts.
Yeah. Like
that's just what he does. And I think our run game is going to be suffocating. And I think those two things against a young quarterback are a winning formula for us in those scenarios. So I have us at 10-0. You have us at 9-1, right?
That's right. Yep. Going into a big Browns game, Jimbo, at home.
Yeah.
Sunday night.
Yeah.
What happened?
This is my first L.
Oh.
Because we can't win all the primetime games, and I think we split with these guys. But we can't win them all. So I think we take a loss. The reason I think we take a loss here is because this will be their Super Bowl. I feel like this will be.
Oh, the Browns are a good team. They almost knocked off the Chiefs last year in the playoffs.
You're right, but I just see it. I mean, they're week 1. They're playing the Chiefs, but I think they'll be riding high. They'll have some momentum, and at that point, I can see them having the moxie to come in and get it done. The Ravens be a little tired, maybe a little off their game. But I'm going to preview the next time. The other matchup to me is more important later in the season. I think we take care of business, but I do think we lose this one. So I have us at 10-1.
Okay, well, I think the Ravens bounce back from that Bears loss that I'm predicting, and they get it done against the Browns at home under the bright lights. I mean, when the lights are brightest, Lamar Jackson, he shows out. I mean, in my opinion, when we looked at those primetime games, you look at him, he was dominant. So I think that doesn't change this time. The Browns are all too familiar with coming into M&T Bank Stadium and getting their tails whipped. And while I think this isn't a beatdown, I think it's a competitive game. I think the win-loss remains the same, and I think the Ravens get the dub in Week 12. Now, big week in Week 13, Jimmo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first game against the bitter and hated rival Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a 4:25 start. So is this our actually sixth national game? Because usually those 4:25 games, you're catching some national audience.
Yeah, I think it might. I don't know if that. Yeah, you're right. It's definitely going to be like regional in that it'll be outside of our, area. But yeah, I think you might be right.
Might catch some national viewers here.
Yeah, certainly. This is interesting though. Where I'll tell you where I'm going. We're sweeping the Steelers this year. Newsflash.
The Steelers. Okay.
So I'm knocking out two birds with one stone. I think we're going to sweep the Steelers. So I think we take this game in Pittsburgh, wherever that is, northeast, northwest. It doesn't matter where that is in comparison to here. We go to Pittsburgh, Heinz Field, and we lay the smack down. I think that Ben Roethlisberger is done. I think that Juju Smith-Schuster will get smacked around a couple times by the Joker or whoever's out there. He said today he's going to be on the outside more. I think he needs to get out to practice more and stop making commercials with the Muppets and playing Fortnite. Anyway, so I'm not a big Juju guy.
I can tell.
But yeah, I think we beat the Steelers at 4:25 on that Sunday afternoon game and move to 11-1.
Wow. Well, unfortunately, I haven't taken the loss here. I think like you mentioned earlier, I think it's reasonable to expect a split between the Ravens and the bitter rival Steelers. And as long as Big Ben is still upright and his arm is still attached at this point, I think they figure out enough on the offensive line. And I think at this point, Najee Harris is probably feeling real good in this offense, and I think he is special. So I think if they have some running game, which it really comes down to the O-line, because I don't think there's going to be any issue as far as talent in the running back room. We know what they have at the receiver position. They definitely have talent there. They have some drop issues from especially Johnson, but I think they do enough. And then they brought in that big tight end from Penn State, Freiermuth. I think they have enough offense to where they pull out a tough one, and it's tough to play at Heinz Field. I mean, I think that's one of the tougher places to play in all of football. So for that reason, I think the Ravens take an L there and move to what am I having at 9-2 or 10? What is this 10? Yeah, 10-2.
I have them at what 11-1. Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, only lost to the Browns. All right, so the next one. Speaking of the Browns, I think we split with the Browns customarily. I say you can pretty much write in a split against the Steelers. I'm not doing that this year. My split opponent is going to be with the Browns at 1:00 in Cleveland. So I think this year they beat us at home. I'm not mistaken. Isn't that how it went last year? No, we swept them last year, but the year before that, didn't they beat us at home early in the season? And then we beat.
I don't know. I gotta.
They were one of our two losses in the 14-2 season.
Oh, early. They were very early.
Right, that's
like
what I'm
week
saying.
2 or week
that was
3,
when Earl Thomas, let up on the run for Nick Chubb. He had like the 88-yarder or whatever.
Yep.
But we did the same thing. I think the same thing happens here. They beat us in M&T Bank. We beat them in the dog pound. And I think it's going to be a really entertaining 1:00 game, one of the best 1:00 games on the docket that day. But I think we take down old Baker and take the dub. So I have us at 12-1.
12-1. Wow, that would certainly be exciting. I got us taking back-to-back L's here, Jimbo. I got us losing at the Steelers, then losing at the Browns in a tough one. I think they're going to come out of that Steelers game a little bit sore.
Blasphemy.
I know. I'm not happy about this, and I'll be rooting like heck that I'm wrong. But that Browns team, like I mentioned, is complete. It's tough. And at home, them fans are going to be crazy. And I think it's going to be a really, really entertaining game, a really good game. But I think the Browns edge us out in that game and give us our second consecutive loss heading into a big game against the Packers. So, hopefully they can bounce back. But what do you like in that Packers game, Week 15? Is A-Rod still going to be under center?
Yeah, I don't think so.
So what are we seeing, Blake Bortles or Jordan Love?
I think it's Jordan Love time.
It better not be Blake, because if it's Blake, they're in trouble.
I know. I think it's Jordan Love time, and I think he gets his arm ripped off. I mean, not literally, but I think he comes in here and we overwhelm him greatly. And yeah, I think we beat the Packers. I think unfortunately Lamar will not be able to play against Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron's done with Green Bay. I mean, like, who was it that came on our show and said he hasn't talked to his family since 1999 or whatever? Look, when he puts his foot down, he's done. He's just done.
He don't play. There's no doubt. But the question is, what type of hardball is the front office willing to play? And also, what kind of groveling are they prepared to do?
Yeah. So that's definitely going to be interesting. But all right. So both scenarios, I think even if Aaron is there, I think we squeak it out. But I don't think Aaron's there. And I think we put the hurt on the Packers. I think it makes a big difference with us being at home. I don't think they're prepared for our rushing attack. I don't think any teams are prepared for our rushing attack. Old Ben Cleveland's going to be going up against Darius Smith. Darius Smith's not going to be loving that. Not that he won't obviously do well, but not going to be fun. So certainly, I think that the Ravens will pull this one out and go to 13-1.
You better add these up while I talk and get your score or get your record right, because let me tell you something, Jimbo. You touched on it. It's the running game that beats the Packers. They were getting ran all over last year, and I don't think that stops when they come to Baltimore. But boy, how happy do you think the Ravens players are? Well, it gets cold in Baltimore. December 19th in Green Bay. Oof, that'd be cold. So I think they're both. I think Packers fans
both relieved that it's here.
Yeah, both relieved that it's here in Baltimore. Just a few days before Christmas. But I think that. While the Packers are a good team, I think they kind of fall into our strengths. They need to move the ball through the air. I like Aaron Jones, but I don't see him having much success on the ground that day. And I think they're going to have to rely on the arm. And I think Aaron Rodgers is still under center there come week 15, because they would be the silliest team ever to allow that man to after coming off that season where he had maybe his best season. And that's saying something, because in a bad down year, he has a career year for most quarterbacks. Like, that's how good he is. And just look it up, because you'll be astounded by looking at his year-to-year numbers. But I just think that plays into our strength. With that secondary that we have, adding depth to it with the recent draft picks that they've brought in, I think leads to a close but Ravens win nonetheless. So week 16 at the Bengals.
So you have 3 losses for us.
Huh?
Yeah, 3 losses right now. The Bears, oh wow,
the Bears, the Steelers, and the Brownies. Yes, I do. Well, look, I got a lot more wins than losses, Jimbo. So okay, let's not go crazy here. Okay, and this is a longer season, so 3 losses isn't going to keep you out of the playoffs. That's for sure.
Yeah, the day after Christmas with these Bengals.
Yeah, you're taking on a Bengals team that at that point I think has realized that they are in fact the Bengals and they are irrelevant still. So for that reason, I think they're already starting to plan their early vacations. I think this is a business-like trip to Cincinnati.
Yep.
And the Ravens come out with a pretty easy win. They handle the Bengals.
Hey, man, I mean, I couldn't say it any better. Now, the next one is going to be interesting. And, playing against the Rams, they have an advantage because unlike the Chargers, they're coming here, but at a 4:25 game. So that would be like playing at 1:30 out there in LA. So not as much of an impact as far as the time difference goes. Now, they still have to travel. But this is where I think we get our second loss right here. I think this is going to be a good team. I think that Jake Funk has an impact on this game one way or another. I think it's going to be interesting. So I think that their defense is still extremely, extremely good. They were able to retain a decent amount of those guys. So I think they're able to make it not contain. I mean, they're able to slow down as much as you can our rushing attack. Now, last time we played the Rams, we destroyed them.
It was bad.
Yeah, it was really bad. But they had Goff under center, of course, which I don't even know how much better Matthew Stafford is going to be for them. It's still a question mark until we see it. But, I mean, we got to lose to someone. I think the Rams are a formidable team, and I think we take a loss here.
I think the Rams are in trouble here, and let me tell you why. Marcus Peters is still pissed off.
He is.
And he ain't going to let the fire die in this Ravens team. There's no way they let Marcus Peters down and come up with a loss here. And also, what are the chances Matt Stafford makes it to week 17 healthy and upright?
Well, he doesn't miss games. He's just not healthy.
I think if you look up, he's missed a few games. And I think recently he's missed a few games with some back injuries and other stuff. Now, I agree. He's tough. He plays through some stuff, but he's missed some games here recently. And more importantly, they lost some key members to that secondary. And actually, they went over to Cleveland, 2 of those guys, which I wasn't happy to see. But their strength was pass defense. You know, they had that insane pass rush led by Aaron Donald, who's maybe the greatest defensive player ever outside of Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, of course. And then, of course, Jalen Ramsey on the back end, who, you know, as much as we don't really necessarily love his personality and the way he, you know, talks in the media and kind of throws some of his teammates under the bus and all that stuff, there's no doubt in his talent on the field. He's an absolute beast at corner. But does that really help you when you're playing a Ravens team that's not going to be reliant? Like, who are you going to shadow? Go ahead, shadow him, because the chances are we're going to be spreading the ball unless you're going to be shadowing Mark Andrews all game, which I don't think he's going to do that. He may in key moments.
Right.
But I just don't see that being a big advantage for them and their pass rush being a big advantage, because we're just going to smash you. Just going to run down your throat. So for that reason, I think, and the travel obviously is a big, long travel coming all the way across the country. I think the Rams catch an L there. So yeah, I still have us just at the 3 losses. Now, this is a big game, Jimbo.
Yeah, huge.
This game could determine it could determine the North. It could determine whether the Ravens make it as a wild card, whether the Steelers get into the playoffs or not. I mean, this is a huge game. So who you got week 18, the first week 18 game we will see in the National Football Game against the Pittsburgh Steelers? Who you got?
Yeah, so I kind of showed my hand, revealed my hand earlier, but the Ravens are beating the Steelers both times this year. I think we sweep them. I think by this point the chances of Ben being healthy, and even, you know, they have some aging guys, but Ben in particular being healthy, based on the fact that he's not generally healthy, not just the fact that there's age, but you know, in the other players, but Ben is not a healthy player. So, we're at home. We got to take this game. I think we're hungrier. I think we're a better football team. There's no reason we lose. I think we win this game handily. Maybe 2 touchdowns.
And you know what, Jimbo? I agree with you.
Amen.
And I agree with you, because I think that this game will be the tone setter heading into the playoffs. This game will be let's make sure we got all the, you know, all the joints greased. Let's make sure we got all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. We're going to make sure we come in and we play playoff football early. And really the Steelers, I think, would be lucky to have Big Ben for this game. I think that, you know, the chances of him still being there, I mean, who knows? I mean, he's getting old. A lot of people thought he'd retire after last year. So I just don't think that they have enough. I think they'll still be relevant at this point, but not enough to take on a Ravens team that really, I think, will be polishing themselves up to really make a playoff run and hopefully a Super Bowl push. So I got the Ravens finishing 14-3 in the first 18-week schedule, 17-game schedule. So yeah, I got them 14-3. Would you end up, Jimbo?
15-2, baby.
Oh, man, I think Ravens fans would be happy with either, and there's no doubt that either makes the playoffs. Still, maybe some doubt whether 14-3 wins the division. I think that's how good the North is this year. I think they got 3 teams that could very easily find themselves in the playoff run. The Bengals still got some ground to make up, but those other 3 are going to be right there competing in the AFC. So, unless you have anything else, you got anything else to add, Jimbo?
No, I'm just excited. Can't wait. I mean, we know that we were a little late on the schedule release, but I'm so pumped for the season coming up. Cannot wait. And I guess the only thing I can say is make sure to go check out our previous videos with the draft picks that we got and the guys that we reached out to them, or to the local media members of those teams that the guys played for. A lot of awesome information there. So shameless plug for other episodes, but they're awesome. So make sure to go check them out. But I mean, that's all I got.
Yeah, let us know what you guys think. Is there a stretch you're pointing to? You're going, oh, I'm a little worried, or is there, you know, give us your record predictions if you don't mind it being a little early. I know the lot can change, but let us know your way too early record predictions, the scary matchups. Are you confident the Ravens can win the North with this schedule, even though they say it's the second toughest in the league?
Right.
Let us know all your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll talk to you guys soon.